Good morning, everyone, at least from the West Coast. I'm Erin. I'm going to be doing the introduction today to our resource Road Design with the RoadEng webinar. With me today is David Mills, one of our software engineers here, and one of our resident speakers actually in our webinar series. So we're just going to get started with a brief introduction of what we're going to cover today. We are going to be looking at a P-line design. Sorry, I should mention we've got a couple housekeeping notes. You are muted, and we will record this. But more specifically today, we're going to be looking at a upgrade of a one-lane rural gravel road based on a P-line survey. What Dave's going to do is he's going to show us a little bit about working with P-line survey notes inside the survey map module of our RoadEng program. Then he's also going to show us basically what it looks like after you've created a survey note file in our new iPad app, which is soon to be coming out of beta. So he's going to be importing that iPad app file, which is an IPD file, bringing it into the survey map module. From there, he's going to show us how we can get started straight in location with the design of our upgrade of our road, or I think, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, you're also going to give us a sampling of what we can do if we want to go and look and validate our data first in our terrain module. From there, we're going to move on to our horizontal and vertical alignments and just get a quick look at balancing our earthworks. So this webinar should take about half an hour or so, and as I mentioned, it's going to be recorded, so if you're not able to stay for the entire time, that's okay. You'll be able to get the video later. So the app. Terrain Tools Field is currently available for iPads and actually available in the App Store, although it is officially in beta. We are hoping to be releasing it within the next few weeks as a non-beta app, meaning that it should be relatively bug-free and great for recording your survey notes in the field. And the best part, it's completely free to our support customers. So if you have a license of RoadEng on support, you have access to a free app. This basically is intended to replace all of your hand note-taking if you're doing P-line surveys and allow really easy import back into RoadEng to get you started. And just a couple of fun screenshots. So of course, you've got your table view here, and then we've got the specific screens where you actually take your notes. We do have a CL coordinates tab as well, which I just chose not to post. But here you can see you can take your shot data, your ground data, culverts, labels, and then of course up to 12 fields for your side shots, including side shot codes. So that is available in the App Store. If you have any questions about this, feel free to email us. You can always get us at sales@softree.com, or regarding to this particular program, as it is still in beta, you can get us at betatest@softree.com. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Dave.
Thanks, Erin. So we'll need to look at my screen now and make sure you're looking at the right thing. Yes, okay. And the first thing I notice when I look at my screen is that there's a couple of new icons on there, Terrain 64 and Location 64. We are now beta testing, well, let's call it alpha testing, the 64-bit version of our new software. Unfortunately, I'm not going to show you that today. Let's take a look at the survey map module. And this is, it's been around for a long time. It's where we really got started in the forest industry. And it's just a reminder that it still works. It's still doing what it has always done, which basically allows you to enter a survey from paper notes. And this is similar but not identical to the iPad. You can enter starting coordinates here. Sometimes if you have a GPS hooked up, you can push that button. You can copy and paste coordinates. I'm going to just take the defaults. And here's a typical table for entering survey notes. We start off with a side shot. So let's do a simple one. Let's say it's going down to the left and up to the right. And all I need to enter is one side shot because that will be extended. That's a % slope. Then I need to put in a ground. I can put in one material or layers. If I double click on here, you can see how the layers work. So we could say, oh, well, on the surface we've got this organic material, and then underneath that we've got hardpan. And how deep is it? Well, let's just say that it's 3 feet deep. I can't remember whether I've started by default in feet or meters here, but the example I'll be looking at later will be in feet. Right, 4-shot, azimuth, let's say we're going north, so I'll go a little east of north. Distance, how about 56 feet? And now it's prompting me for a vertical direction, a slope. I'll put in a % slope here. And now we're on to the next shot. Now, you can put in more than one side shot, and there's a little dialog box to help you do that. So here we go. I'll say, yeah, it starts out at -50, and then there's a bench about 5 feet out. We've got a little bench here, which is only -10, and that goes for another 20 feet. And then it continues on at -40. Okay, so that's what it looks like. You can see in the screen here. Oh, I need to change my scale if I want to actually see the end of the bench. There we go. Oops, wrong way. There we go. And now I can switch over to the right-hand side. I can either just click on here and start typing on the right, or there's a way to set this up to do it all automatically. And I think I have a screen layout for that. So let's just put in one shot here and say OK. And let's see now. P-line, there it is. OK. So now you'll notice when I click on, oh, screen layout's not set up. Let's just quickly set it up. So automatic side shot entry, I want to pop up my multiple side shots automatically, and that should do it. Right. Now, if I'm here on slope, I hit the Enter key or the Tab key. It jumps me automatically in here. I hit the Tab key to go through my side shot entry, hit the Enter key to click on OK, and notice it's popped up on the right-hand side. And now I can tab around and finish this off. I'll just make one more side shot, and then we'll import some notes from the iPad. So 15 feet. You can put in point codes here if you want to. For example, shoulder right. And the next shot. Now, if I wanted to take another shot from center line instead of from this 15-foot point, I could just turn off this turning point here and put in a slope. How about 60? And this is important that I make this distance bigger than the previous distance, because as you can see, there's shot number 1 ends there where my cursor is, and there's shot number 2 ends there. So clearly this distance has to be bigger. And then I can either take another shot from center line, or in this case I'm going to make that into a turning point, and I'll put in a final shot. Okay. So now I've got it set up using my Traverse entry options to automatically pop up side shots. The tabs, the columns that are included, whoops, there we go. These are the columns that it jumps to when you hit the Tab key or the Enter key. I've set them all up in the right order. And now if I just save that as a screen layout, I can use that in the future. So all I need to do next time I want to enter a P-line traverse is click on that. It sets up the screen to look like this, including columns displayed, how wide they are, all that kind of stuff. And now, as I hit the Enter key, it moves through the notes exactly the way I want it to. Okay, now rather than type in a whole series of notes and waste a lot of your time, I'm going to bring in a survey that was exported from our iPad app. So one of the standard ways to get data from the iPad Terrain Tools field is to send it by email. And here it is. There's my iPad file, and I can just save as and put it in a folder. I've already got it there. The other way is to use the iTunes store, actually, which seems to work pretty well too. I haven't tried it personally. Okay, so I've got my survey file, and just to remind you, that was using the iPad that Aaron showed you a couple of pictures of, and it's not exactly the same as entering notes in our survey map module, but it's pretty similar. So now I'm going to open that up. So it is a iPad format. This is new in version 7. You can see it on the available list. There's my iPad file, open, and boom, all the side shots are in there. Ground types, not very interesting, just one ground per shot. It is units in feet here. And I'm assuming that it figured that out. Let's just double check. Oh, metric meters, that's not very good. Okay, we'll change that to feet. It's an ASCII file, so you need to set your units explicitly here. Anyway, once I've done that, then traverse options, feet. I can save it, and of course now it saves into our TR1 format. I'm just going to, I'm not going to write over that. I'm going to call it iPad. Once it's saved in that format, now I can go into the location module and start designing an alignment, a road alignment. So there's quite a bit of stuff you can do inside the survey map module. For example, you can do radial shots which don't have side shots. We'll see that later when we open it up in location and terrain. You can put in comments. You can put in creek crossings where you think you're going to need a culvert, and location will automatically put a culvert in there. Let's see if I've got a good spot for. I'll just put one in here. So station 1581. I'm going to say we need a 3-foot. Wait a minute. In feet, it's in inches. 36-inch diameter culvert. Okay, and that will appear when I go into the location module. Right, so let's do that. I don't want to cover all the details. I think a lot of you, if you've used RoadEng before, are kind of familiar with this. Let's go on to the location module now. So the location design module allows you to design roads, and the first thing you need to do, file new, is pick 1 or 2 files. If I pick this file, iPad TR1, all I'm using is the survey with side shots to define my original ground. If I pick 2 files, one of them being a traverse and the other being a terrain, then I'm getting a combination of the two. And if I just pick terrain, then I'm not using the survey file at all. I'm just using a surface. Well, this is all about survey notes. So let's start with the survey notes file by itself and see what happens. So the location module has opened for me, and it has created a brand new alignment, and it's following the survey. There's the culvert. It automatically put in a culvert, and the center line is right on top of the surveyed center line, and the vertical alignment is right on top of the ground. And it's pulled in a default cross-section from the template table, which I set up as my default. Let's just look at templates. So in my template editor, there are 2 templates in here. There's the resource low volume and rural paved. Those 2 templates happen to be in a file called, let's not do that, let's open, in a file called normal. So my defaults are saved for me, so it's really quick to create my design. And if I want to change my defaults, that's the file that I update. Okay, so that's where the template came from. By the way, those of you who are familiar with RoadEng probably haven't seen this new resource component. It's a one-sided component similar to our more sophisticated public road cross-section templates, but it's designed just for resource, and it's very simple in that it's got a width. That's the running surface width. and it's got a slope for the surfacing, and finally it's got a thickness. I'm not putting layer 2 on there, but there is another layer if you want it. There's layer 2. I will leave that off, so I'm just using the layer 1 above subgrade. Yeah, and the alignment in our old default roadway component, this is meant to replace that. The alignment was either at the running surface or at the subgrade. So as you can see, I've changed the left one, but not the right one. But now the alignment is below the surfacing on the top of the subgrade. So that's an option in this template. That's fairly typical template manipulation. You can change numbers in here, and it changes your cross-section. For example, if I made the width smaller, I get a narrower road. If I make it bigger, of course, I get a wider road. And yeah, okay. New in the program fairly recently, a couple years ago, we added overrides to the to this part of the software, so you can actually override these values at station numbers. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to show you that later. Okay, so this looks like a good template. It's got a reasonable width on it. It's 12 feet each side of center line, so it's 24-foot width. My ditch depth here is looks like about 1.5 feet. I could modify that if I wanted to. There's the ditch depth. But I'm gonna stick with the default template. Just say, okay, let's recalculate. Okay, so there's my cross section, and I'm pretty much ready to go on to designing. What else would you do before you started designing? Well, you might take a look at the horizontal alignment and see if you wanted to change it around a bit. I'm pretty happy with this now. Let's take a look at a cross section right in the middle. Okay, so you can see the old road, that's the black line here, kind of ends there. And my new road, which is a little wider, is producing some fill on this very steep side hill here. So I'm thinking, yeah, well, if we want to make this road bigger, wider, it's probably better to cut on the right and don't do anything on the left. So there's 2 ways I can do that. Well, 3 actually. One way is to move the horizontal alignment over. But I'd have to do that for every single cross-section, because I surveyed down the center of the old road, and I really want the center to be moved over quite a bit. And that reminds me of yet another way I could do it. I could go into terrain and create an alignment that's just offset from this one and then use that as my initial. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to change the roadway so that it's narrow on the left and wide on the right. It'll screw up the crown a little bit, but that's a pretty good approximation. It's really easy to do. So let's do that. Go into the template editor, and on the left-hand side, I can just change the width. Okay. And on the right-hand side, I'll do the same thing. I'll make the width a little bigger. How about 18? So now you can see it's working pretty good at this cross-section. This is also fairly new in our software. You can step through the cross-sections in the template editor and see how your new template behaves along the alignment. Oh, there's the daylight feature. You can also do this. You've always been able to do this in our template editor. You can move your template around, see how it's going to behave. This daylighting now is in the ditch component. So that basically says if you're less than 10 feet from the ground, just cut straight out at slope of 5% instead of cutting a ditch. If you get further than 10 feet from the ground, cut a ditch. Okay, so a template that's pretty smart. Now I've changed that template, and I can just reapply it, and there we go. Good. Now I'm going to do the vertical alignment. So here we are looking at the vertical, and there's multiple windows here, right? I'm working with a pretty small screen so that it updates fairly quickly on your monitor, and also so that it doesn't make a giant movie when we record this. But normally you've got more room on your screen, unless maybe you're working from a tablet. Don't forget RoadEng works on a tablet. You can take it into the field. That tablet has to run Windows if you want the full RoadEng. If you have an iPad, then you can take Terrain Tools Field into the bush on your iPad. But if you have a Windows tablet, you can take the whole RoadEng suite, including the survey module. And that's certainly an option that people are using now. Right, so I got all these windows here. I got screen layouts to help me pick where they should go, and you might have different screen layouts depending on how big your screen is. I'm just going to maximize the profile and do a little vertical alignment here. So I'm going into edit mode. There's a little button for that too. I just click on this button here. I've got a pencil on the screen. Click once. There's an intersection point. Click a second time. I've created a vertical alignment leg, and I'll create a few more of those. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm not really paying attention to much except for what it looks like. But the fact is that everything is calculating and up to date as I do it. Volumes, there's your mass haul diagram. I've just cut 25,000 cubic meters of material to create this alignment. Each cross-section is up to date, and I can look at any cross-section at any time. Oops, that one doesn't look very good. By the way, you could see that in the plan window. That point there, you can see my mouse moving in both the section window and the plan window. So on the left-hand side, that catch point down there is this green dashed line in your plan window. Okay, that doesn't look very good. Maybe I should move my alignment down there. This is up to date. You can see the grades, and I don't have any grade breaks showing here, but you can see that the grades don't change for, oh, there's a big change from 0 to 7. That's a large grade break. Maybe I should go to that cross section and put in a curve. So again, I could design this to have small grade breaks, or I could design it to have a vertical curve. And it's kind of up to you what you like. This is the vertical curve panel, and all I need to do is get to the intersection point of interest and create a curve. There's my default curve, k equals 20. Looks okay to me. And you can see that now as a grade with a P in front of it. That's actually the average grade instead of the start and end grades. And there's the start grade, and there's the end grade. Okay, so I'm creating an alignment. This cross-section here might be interesting. We've got the same problem there. Maybe I should lower that down a little bit. Get back onto my ground. Take a look at my grades. I think you get the idea. So the great thing about the RoadEng program is that you can very quickly create an alignment and get feedback about what you're doing as you do it. So, if I take this vertical curve and I lower it down so I've got more cut, my mass haul just jumped up by about 10,000 cubic meters. You can just see it that fast. This road is how many feet? This is 1,000. It's about 2,500 feet, half a mile. Everything goes really snappy. If you go up to, say, 7 miles or 10 kilometers, it's still very snappy. The program doesn't really start to bog down until you're into the 50 to 100 kilometer range. So it's very quick at updating things. Okay, now next step. What if I'm not very happy with these cross sections, or if I want to be a little more accurate about my original ground? Well, I'm going to go into our terrain module now. So the terrain module gives you the ability to bring in three-dimensional coordinates, and my survey with side shots is a pretty good representation of three-dimensional coordinates. So let's get that. Okay, I can bring in all kinds of different file formats. This ASCII text format is often used to import data from total station surveys. An awful lot of people in the resource, road, forestry business are now using LiDAR, so we read LiDAR. And of course, we read our own TR1 files. The iPad IPD import is not built into this, so you got to go through the Traverse document. Anyway, I did save the thing. There it is. And now I'm going to bring it in. So it's a survey with side shots. This number just says how far I extend my final slope. Remember, when we were entering the survey notes and we looked at these cross sections, there was often a slope at the end with no distance. That's the extension for this slope. So how far does that go? Well, I just told it to go 50 feet, and let's bring that in. Okay, so there's my survey. One of the things I did not mention is that you're allowed to enter point codes when you are entering your survey notes, and there's shoulder right, shoulder left. They're in my terrain. Let's see what this looks like when I make a surface out of it. So each of these things has all the surveyed points in it, which contain X, Y, Z, so I can make a terrain model. Terrain is good for making surfaces, and it'll build contours while it's doing that. This is a relatively small model, so it won't take long. This side length here is kind of important. Basically, it says don't connect any points that are farther than 150 feet apart, and that works quite well for this model. In other words, I don't want to connect up this point here all the way down to this point there and interpolate elevations between them. That would be quite meaningless. But it does make sense to interpolate between near cross sections. There we go. There's my contours, and looks pretty good to me. It's just sloping down to the left. There's 140, there's 40, there's 90. Oh, why am I labeling like that? Let's just do that again. I don't want to label on 40-meter or 40-foot intervals, so I'm going to start my labels at 0. Oh, they're actually going below 0. Okay, so let's start at, I'm labeling every 50, so I'll start at -50. There we go. That's better. So there's 150, there's 50, there's 0. And like I say, it looks good, but it will look, it will be more clear if I make a three-dimensional representation. So I'm going to do that. Let's go to Window, New Window. Oops, Window, New Window, Graphics, 3D. There it is. And now that I can see the whole thing, I can see that, yeah, it looks like a good surface, mostly, but what's this thing here? That doesn't look right. Sometimes using the 3D window is a really quick way to figure out where your problems lie. And you can do stuff like this. If I turn on the 3D options, every right click gives you options for the window you right click in. Turn on track mouse in the 3D display. When I wiggle my mouse over here, I can, oh, there it is, same thing. Right. So that point there isn't very good. It's on my second to last cross section. What went wrong? Well, let's just go and take a look at that. Go up to the end of the traverse. Click on the last cross section. Aha. There it is. I'm guessing that there should have been a minus sign here. So I'm just going to type in -83. OK. And save. Now, I've changed the traverse, so I need to go back to my terrain module and reopen it. So I'll just do that. Didn't take long to get here. I don't see much point in trying to import it and change just one or two features, so I'll start from scratch. Same options. There it is. Build the model, and again, I want this at -50. There it is. Now, you can see there's no glitches in the contours, and when I open up my window, that surface looks nice and smooth over there. But I do see some other things that don't look quite right. This is the center line here, In fact, let's look at those two side by side. Oops. There we go. And I want that point there to be selected. There it is. New feature in version 7, you can select in the terrain window. I just did that. And this line I've got highlighted in pink is the center line survey. Let's just change the line type to be kind of more bold so we can see it. Type Control L there. I could have also used right-click, modify selected features. Right. So there's something wrong here. The surface is crossing over the alignment. And if we turned on triangles, you'd see what was going on. There's a triangle that connects the shoulder left up to this reference point survey and crosses right over the road. This is a classic situation where we need a break line, and what I really want to do is I want a break line between shoulder right and shoulder right here to fix that. So I'll just do that. So I'll create a new feature, make sure that it's a break line feature, give it a name, BL, it's a good name, and I'll draw it with the mouse. It's saying, what elevation is this feature? Well, I don't care because I got snapping turned on, and it's just going to pick up the elevation of the model. So let's snap on shoulder on the other end. That's a break line. Now let's recalculate. I don't have to change anything because I did it a second ago. And whoops, I do have to change something. I have to turn on calculate triangles. There we go. No, what went wrong? Aha, it wasn't checked. Somehow I missed that. Okay, let's try that again. That's better. So now you can see, first of all, you can see in the 3D window that that looks like a little piece of road now, whereas before it looked like a landslide covering the road. I got a better surface. Okay, and there's one more little glitch. I probably am wasting too much time going into details here, but if we take a look at this feature here, it's kind of higher than it should be. And there's some elevations that don't match up here. This happens all the time with surveys with side shots. So if I select that point, it says I'm at elevation 32. But if I select this point, it says I'm up at elevation 49. We've got crossing cross sections. What really happened here is, well, we've either got wrong numbers in this cross section, or maybe it should have been at a slightly different angle. The side shot wasn't taken at the right angle. So they cross over and you get the wrong numbers down there. Easily fixed. I'm just going to remove those points. So I'm going to pick up this one, delete it, pick up this one, delete it, and once more recalculate my triangles. And now I look at my surface and say, yeah, that looks pretty good. There are other places where I need break lines right here. I'm going to leave that for now. But that's typical of a surface without break lines. You get these weird triangles that don't quite match the original ground. So I save this. I'm going to call it just plain old topo. Now, wouldn't it be nice if I could use this in my existing design? In fact, it's easy to do. So I just go back to my location design. The traverse has been modified. Do I want to load it? Yes. That's not going to fix everything. It's going to fix that last cross section. Before no, I have to recalculate. Sorry. So that fixes the end cross section. That's taken care of now, right? There's no more glitch where it goes up. However, I'd like to put the surface underneath here and get more accurate cross sections. Easily done. So looking in the plan window, I don't have any contours. I can look at cross sections and see what's going on. It's going down to the left, but I don't have any contours. I don't have any other map information. Now I'm going to go to the module setup, alignment, terrains. This is the only place you can change your topo surface. You can add a background in the plan window options, but here's where you would change your topo. And I'm just going to browse, find my topo I just created, say OK. And now, without having to change my alignment or do anything, I've gone from a P-line design to a P-line with terrain. I think I want to turn off those triangles, though. So let's just get those triangles out of there, resave it, back to location module, reopen it, recalculate, and boom. That's better. Now I can see my background contours. I'm calculating better cross sections in the middle here between surveyed side shots because I'm using the surface to define these cross sections. And now I'm happy with more accurate volumes, mass haul, etc. Well, that basically ends what I wanted to show you guys. Any questions before we sign off for the day?
And you can ask questions through typing them in the GoToWebinar question panel. And I just wanted to say thanks, Dave. That was great. We haven't done a P-line survey for a while in our webinar series, so it's very useful to see some of the new features that we've got in V7. Not seeing any questions, so if any of you folks on the line happen to have one, feel free to email us. And with that, we're going to sign off. So I want everyone to have a great weekend, great Friday, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Erin.